Hello, let's talk about mindfulness in a way that's not just presence and being available to the person in front of you as you are. Those are all great things. But let's talk about mindfulness in a way that changes relationships. It changes your relationship with yourself and it changes your relationships with the people around you. Now, if you think about mindfulness in the traditional sense, you might think about being really aware of what's going on in the present moment. You might think about being really aware of your senses. You might think about being really aware of how your body feels, being aware of the person in front of you and what they're saying, totally focused. All of those things are good and they are a really good foundation to catapulting your relationship with yourself and other people, but we can take it a little deeper. And if you're following me, I think you want to take it deeper. So, another way to think of mindfulness is this work that we do when we start to understand our past, when we start to understand our neural networks. This sounds a little technical and scary, but I promise you it's not. It's when we start to understand that the person or people in front of us or around us also have a past. They have some neural pathways that were formed in other relationships in their childhood through perhaps repeated traumatic events or just repeated events that were emotional that maybe we wouldn't consider a traumatic event. When we can be very mindful of what we've been through, of the person in front of us, and perhaps a little bit of an understanding of what they've been through, I think it's really difficult to ever fully understand that. But even the awareness that we don't fully understand can be so helpful. When we can do these things, then we get to have an experience that is very different than if we just thought they're mean. And what's wrong with me? I'm crazy. Why do I keep thinking about this in a way that I don't really believe, but I can't stop doing it? Right? That's what true mindfulness does for us. It opens this door to be able to know ourselves better, to know the other person better, and then to actually think about what's going on in the interaction, what's going on in the moment in a way that doesn't feel just completely overwhelming. I heard an example given once, and it's called the dome effect. I heard BB Hansen talk about it this way. She said, sometimes it feels like we're just like in a snow globe or something, and it feels so real when we're in it, right? Like all the things around us going on just feel like truth. But when we start to open up this mindfulness, this awareness, we start to get a sense like, wait, I'm in a globe? I never knew this was a globe. Wait, these things happening around me, they feel really true, but they don't have to be true. I can understand what's happening and maybe they don't have to be an actual storm. Like maybe this can be calmed and I get to realize that I get to choose if I want to stay in this globe, if I even want to view the things going on in the globe as a storm, right? It's like opening up to the fact that maybe life as we know it isn't what we thought it was. Now, that can be kind of scary and challenging to the brain. I want to give you an example of why this might be important instead of scary, right? So, for me, let's say I'm in an interaction with my husband. And as most arguments are in marriages, right? They start out with something superficial, like putting the toilet seat down, or one that just happened for me recently. My husband tried this or wanted to try this soft drink, and I really wanted to try it too. I don't drink carbonation, and this was a soft drink that supposedly had very little carbonation in it. And so I was so excited because I thought, oh, he bought that for me. Well, he actually bought it for himself, but was willing to give me a taste of it. But he drank it without me, or at least he drank most of it without me. And I was so offended, right? And he's like, whoa, how did this soft drink turn into like an argument? But for me, it was like, he doesn't care about this issue that I have, like this health issue and this carbonation that I don't drink. This was really important to me. He didn't respect that this was supposed to be like him waiting for me. It's trying a drink, you guys. Like, I get that now. But in the moment, if we're not aware of what's going on, it could just feel like disrespect. He doesn't care about me. He doesn't love me. He's so selfish. When I understand and get mindful, I'm like, oh, well, this has been a little bit of a difficult issue, this health issue for me. And so that made it feel a little bit more heightened. And oh, the communication that he and I have had in the past, that's a very different experience because we communicate in different ways. His experience is very different than mine. So that was a little hot button trigger for me too, right? And that day I was out doing other things and he had been gone. And I felt like he just came in and did whatever he wanted while I had been like holding down the fort or doing all the things myself. And that was a hot button issue, right? There are so many things that surfaced with this benign soft drink, right? And so for him, when I got frustrated, he got triggered, right? He's like, no, don't fuss at me. For him, it brought up old things, right? When maybe I wasn't so self aware and maybe I was a little bit more critical. And it brought up some other things for him too, right? Like I could guess based on his history and our relationship. But that's what mindfulness is. In that moment, my husband can be a selfish jerk who doesn't care about me, doesn't understand my health issues, and doesn't want to know, right? Or my husband can be a human with a human brain who has a history and neural pathways that I know led to him saying the things that he did. And I can be a human who has some history, who has some thoughts that also led to me acting the way I did. We can be in the hurricane of that dome, which this is just real life. I'm married to a jerk. And sometimes I'm crazy to get so worked up over a Pepsi, right? Or we can pull that dome back and be very aware, like, there are some other things going on here. We're not crazy. We're not selfish jerks. None of those things. We just have some history. We just have some correlations and associations with things in our past. We just have some learned neural pathways that maybe trigger us or activate us, and we get in a stress response and we act this way. So I hope that helps to understand the difference between mindfulness as far as just I'm being present and mindfulness meaning like I'm pretty aware that I have some stress responses sometimes. And I'm pretty aware that you're a human with a human brain and a history and a future and a personality. And sometimes you're going to get activated. It doesn't mean anything has gone wrong. It doesn't mean we're terrible people. It just means we're humans with a human brain. If you want to learn more about how this can change your relationships, your business, your goals, hit me up. Go to the link in my bio and scroll down and you can get on my email list. You can find my calendar schedule to actually get a consult call with me, or you can get access to some of my classes that I have taught on YouTube. Just search for Rhonda Farr on YouTube and you'll find several of those as well. Bye, friends.